I'm here with my husband, Juan Giron Sanchez.
And we are from Noise and Associates. We are a firm of immigrants for immigrants. We want to wish everyone happy holidays first and foremost.
Yes. And tonight we want to talk about something that is um, very important in immigration. It's about family petition based on marriage. Who would qualify? Who can be the petitioner? And what are some of the myths and things that we do see as an immigration attorney and dealing with family-based petitions?
Yes, but we would like to first start and say we are a firm of immigrants for immigrants. We are here at Deportees Corner. This is your podcast. We do reaction to the news, bring you the latest in immigration topics. And we figured that tonight would be very important to discuss marriage-based petition or family immigration and such. Now, please make sure that you like, you subscribe, you comment. If you have any questions, please feel free to bring them forth. We're here. We're more than happy to help. And with that being said, marriage is such a beautiful thing.
It is. It is.
It is when you're trying to get your papers.
Not just only trying to get your paper. It is. Marriage is a beautiful thing because it was created by God, and it is one of the best things you can do is when you marry your partner who is also your best friend. Don't get me wrong, marriage have its ups and downs. There are a lot of times you have issues, but marriage is really a good thing. Don't listen to my husband about how you
No,
get
so
married for
but
papers.
because it's based on, which is what we have here on screen, right? It's reuniting families through family immigration, right?
Yes.
It's one of the most known ways of people trying to get their papers. Let's be honest here.
That's true.
A lot of people, the moment that they come here, whether it's on a visa, they look to get married. Or, when you have a foreigner going back home, right? You establish a relationship and then you do a family or marriage-based petition in which then they're filing for you. And then, you go to the embassy, then you come to America and you really find out what life is like.
That's true. That is true. I think, as you said, when you go to the embassy and come back and you come to America, you actually find out what life is really like in America. When you said that, it reminds me of a clip I remember. I think one of those judge shows where the guy was talking about he's talking to his wife on the phone and everything was so good and great, but when he came here, their lifestyle was so different from his that it was like a cultural shock, even though they're from the same country.
But we also have to remember, right? Like when a lot of people go back home, they're fronting,
That's
right?
true.
They're making it seem like life abroad, whether it's, it could be in Europe, it doesn't not limit just to America, but they paint a different picture of what life is like. All you see is the glamour, the flashiness, how everything is so good, everything's so fine and dandy, and then, again, America's a land of opportunities. We definitely, has opened the doors for us, and we wanted to go into a little bit about this, right? What is family petition, right? So I'm just going to read here. A family petition allows a family of U.S. citizens or legal permanent residents the ability to immigrate into the United States. However, there are certain rules as to who can file for who.
Yes. So, if you are a green card holder, you can file for your spouse, your children, whether they're under age 21 or 21 and older, as long as those children are unmarried. As a green card holder, you can petition for those family members. A citizen, you can petition for your parent, your spouse, your children, whether married or unmarried, over 21, under 21, and also your siblings. And it doesn't matter if your siblings are married, you can petition for them.
There's also, parent-based petition in which a parent can file for his children, whether they're under 21 or over 21. However, green card holders cannot file for their parents. So I know immigration law can be so confusing. I know that's why we have this chart here. The best thing you can do, again, is to seek immigration advice. This conversation is only for educational purposes.
Yes.
By no means does it constitute to legal advice. For it to be legal advice, we would have to assess your case on an individual basis so that we can better plan a way forward to your family. Okay?
Yes.
We
I
also have children's petitions.
Yes. So children can petition for their parents, and that's you have to be a U.S. citizen. So a green card holder cannot petition for their parents.
And then we also have sibling petitions, in which only U.S. citizens can file for their siblings. However, the wait time is super long. You also have, unfortunately, green card holders cannot file for their siblings. We also have fiance visas, which are very popular. Honestly, the best way to migrate into the U.S. is if you meet the love of your life, who's a U.S. citizen, abroad. They go meet with you. They're able to file a K-1. In some countries, you can be here in as little as 6 to 9 months. In America, you get married within the 90 days, and then you're able to adjust status. So those are some of the ways in which you can come to the country and migrate. But we wanted to focus specifically, right, on what do you need for a family petition, right? So in this emphasis of tonight, and this is why we're discussing family petition, it's based on spousal petitions. So at another point, we're going to have a discussion about other types of petition. So what do you need for a spousal petition?
You need to prove the bona fides of your marriage. So, for example, just having a marriage certificate alone does not mean that you have a bona fide marriage for immigration purposes. So, one of the evidence that you can use if you have children with your spouse, you can provide the children's birth certificate. Joint bank accounts, commingling of assets, are another option. You can also create like a will or a trust to show future planning, that if some or power of attorney. So if something happens to you, your spouse is your go-to point person. So that's just a few of the things that are good bona fide evidence.
And there's a couple of situations in which again people can fix their papers. So let's discuss. And again, we're just talking about options, and then we're gonna go a little bit more into talking about specific issues that we're seeing. So let's just go briefly. So what is adjustment of status?
Adjustment of status is that if you're here in the U.S., you're changing your status. You don't have to go outside of the U.S. You can get your green card lawfully here in the U.S. However, for adjustment of status, one of the important things you have to have is show that you were inspected, whether you were paroled or you came on a visa and an officer asked you a few questions or something, but an officer allows you into the country.
So the pathway to the adjustment status is that you can do everything within the U.S. You do
Yes.
not need a waiver. You do not have to go back home to your country of origin to do consular process. You can do everything here in the U.S. It's a way of efficiently migrating and having your process be a lot faster.
Oh, yes. Adjustment of status is way faster than if you have to outside of the country and you're waiting for the spousal petition to go through. Depends on the country again.
Now, another process, which is not what we're going into, is marrying someone and then having to do a waiver and consular process. Now, that takes a little bit longer.
Yes, because you're already here in the U.S. That means you came in illegally. You came through the border, you weren't inspected. So now you have to go back out. And so you have to file a 601A waiver for your unlawful presence. Those waivers are taking about 5 years. So that's why this process is a little bit longer, because you have to wait till the waiver is approved, and then you're allowed to go back out to your home country and go to the interview. The reason why you do need the waiver is that you will not trigger, if you have the waiver, you will not trigger the 3 or 10-year bar when you leave.
So, pretty much what that means is that you can migrate to marriage to the U.S. Sometimes it's better if you come in with a visa or you're
Yes.
paroled in and you will be able to adjust. Or as you just saw in the previous slide, you have to do a waiver and you have to go back to your embassy. But regardless, let's get into the nitty-gritty of what we really want to talk about, which is marriage-based petitions. Now, we are pretty much talking about marriage-based petitions because we are seeing an increment in marriages.
Yes, we are definitely seeing an uprising in marriages. And one of the things is that, especially immigration, they're looking out for sham marriage, marriage fraud, just marriage for immigration purposes.
But people say, oh, it's only a little bit of forms to fill out. Oh, we can just take some pictures and just change the clothes and or I can go pay someone, which again we
It's
want to start
illegal.
there, is illegal. Do not pay anyone for your papers. Get married for love. I mean, really and truly, you are risking your future because if you're found to have committed immigration fraud, the consequences are permanent.
Yes, that is true. Because a sham marriage determination follows you. It doesn't matter if you later have a child who is a U.S. citizen who could petition for you. That sham marriage does follow you. I've seen cases where the parent was married to someone, still married to the person, but it's just that when they went to the interview, they froze at the interview, and the officer asked questions that made them determine that, said, hey, this is not a bona fide marriage, this is a sham marriage. And that determination was made. The That parent had a child who became a U.S. citizen. And then the child filed, they denied. Child refiled again after going to a new attorney, which should have advised that it's not possible to be done because of the sham marriage determination. They refiled, and again, immigration is blocking it again because of that sham marriage determination. So that is a very serious crime. You could also spend time in jail for it.
And then some people are like, oh, well, how are they going to find out? How are they going to find out that my marriage is not real?
Well, immigration have a fraud unit. Then when you go in for an interview, if the officer sends something off, they won't say anything to you. They will just refer your case over to the fraud unit. Then
And some of the fraud alerts, right? And we can just talk about a little bit of it. Is again difference in ages, how soon between you married and you file, the
Yeah.
lack of bona fide evidence, which is what we talked about. We've even had cases where photos looked staged. I mean, the people had the same hairstyle. It just like changed different clothes in different places. They still had the same shoes, so you could kind of see
See that
that.
it was
Wait, this
it's
it's made out
staged.
to seem like it's a different time periods, but it's really not. And again, immigration is not dumb, right? They are professionals, and this is an issue of importance because Trump has talked during this period about family-based petitions and some possible changes that may be happening, which is why so many people are rushing to get married. But again, find someone you love. Do not pay someone. Immigration is going to find out. We've had cases, right, where they have gone to the interviews, and then the spouse doesn't remember the nickname, or doesn't remember her favorite color, doesn't remember her favorite food, doesn't remember what movie they saw last, doesn't remember what color are the bed sheets, what color is the stove, what color is the microwave, where is the light switch. All these different questions that immigration may ask during an interview to assess the fact that you guys have commingled a life together, that you have an intention of establishing a life together.
Oh yeah, because even in interviews where the one party is stating that the other party is born in somewhere totally different, making up countries that or towns
Or
or cities.
how did you meet? How did you propose? Do you sleep on the left side or the right side? Who gets up early? Where does he work? How much does he get paid? Who pays the bill? Who loves to cook? I mean, all these questions that in a typical relationship you would know. But again, because people are just desperate, again, you're paying someone, you're going to a notario to go file paperwork because you want to save some money because you paid all this money to this person, and now you're like shortchanging yourself. Again, please don't do that. Do not commit fraud. Do not go to a notario for your immigration issue. If you have came to this country and you have sacrificed so much to be here, make sure you invest in yourself. Go with a law firm that's going to be ethical because again, the minute that we have somebody come to this office and they tell us that they paid someone or is marriage for papers or marriage for immigration benefit, we
Yeah,
can't serve you. We
we
cannot
cannot.
help you. We will not help you make up a story. We're going to help you make up evidence. No. We only work with real families. We have a focus because of our own immigration experience and history with our families that we want to be able to help families to honor our ethics because at the end of the day, we are stewards of the law. we are helping people comply with the law, not to break them. You're already breaking them by being here. You cannot continue to break them by thinking you can pull a fast one. And it's really disappointing, and it's really what has led the administration to really have a look at these family petitions because of all the craziness that has happened. So let's get into a
Oh
little
yeah.
bit more about
Big-
what else you have seen as far as these marriage cases and the fraud and everything else.
Even when I've gone to the field office. Most of the time, as the security guards or people that work, they're there every day, and so sometimes I will have. I'm always friendly with most of them, so I will have conversation like, "How is it busy today?" or stuff, and they'll just tell us like the experience of some of the stuff that's been going on and how much their the fraud detection unit is working so much because they're finding out so many frauds that are going on because again people are fearful and they're panicking and they're acting in just irrational ways. Um, for example, where I see where the person came in, but they couldn't answer the questions, and the officer is asking questions about their the spouse, and instead of the husband answer the question, the husband get upset. So that now triggers the officer to go down that road, bring him down a rat hole. Then I'm sitting there like, all you had to do is answer the question or just say, I don't remember.
But again, they're looking at your eye contact, they're looking at your
Yes,
voice, they are looking at your nonverbal cues,
that is true.
right? Things you should know, the basics, and they're going to ask you questions over and over again in different ways, just to get you to, just to prove again they have a job to do. They're not there to help you. Obviously, they're here to be stewards of, becoming a U.S. citizen, becoming a legal permanent resident, and obviously, they have a lot of experience with people committing fraud, and they can tell. And this is why it's so important that you work with a law firm that's going to be in your corner, that's going to be there to prep you. There has been some talk about the fact that there won't be any immigration interviews, and they kind of do so on a case by case basis. However, we know that they're trying to expedite certain cases because they're really behind. However, there's some cases where they do site visits, where they come in
Yes.
unannounced, where they go ahead with your picture and they ask your neighbor, "Hey, do you know this person? Do they live here?"
Yeah.
And we've had
We have
instances where,
where the neighbor's like, no, I've never seen that the husband or that wife here, but I see the other one. Like, so the neighbor would say, I see the beneficiary, but I've never seen a petitioner. So now it's that okay. Now they're sitting there, they're asking these statements, the questions to the neighbor, and the neighbor is giving the answers, and the neighbor is signing this document. So they're going to take this third party evidence and put a lot of weight to it because this is a neighbor who can identify you but can identify your spouse. That is a red flag in the immigration person point of view. And then what they will continue to do, they will probably even do two sites visits or more.
and in some cases that we've had recently, they'll actually request that the individual goes into immigration. And again,
Yes.
we've had certain cases where they will even request for the phone to be handed over to see if there's been messages. And for some people who are trying to play this system, they're sending their lover or their real husband or their old boyfriend or whatever the case messages, and it's not coinciding. So again, we are seeing a rise in people getting married right now because they feel that marriage-based petitions or family-based petitions is the only way to legalize their status. Again, we just discussed adjustment of status within the U.S. We discussed three-step, which is getting married, doing a waiver, and consular process. Irregardless, do not commit fraud. They are investigating. That's their job to figure out whether marriages are real or not. Because the reality is, and we have had certain stories where people do get married knowingly deceiving the other person. So, for instance, we've had a case recently where a month after this person got her green card, she filed for divorce.
Yeah. And then so this petition, the husband was a U.S. citizen, is completely shocked because
Heartbroken because you've been together, you helped
he
this woman, and she got her papers and then boom, she's bounced. So now she's gonna be looked at with suspicion when she finally goes to get her citizenship, or unless they go ahead and file a claim about the fact that she married under false pretenses or that she did not have an intention to establish a life together. Again, the key here with marriages is not that you have to continue to get married, especially if you're not happy, if you're suffering domestic violence or abuse. You don't have to stay with that
That
person,
is true.
but you're gonna have to be able to answer for the reason why the marriage broke down. However, if it is just a matter of, hey, I got what I needed and I'm out, no, that's gonna come back to bite you.
Definitely. That will definitely come back to bite you because I've seen where, again, um, where a client went for citizenship and the officer's looking at the date of divorce and the date that the person got their 10-year green card and said, hey, you just got your green card like 3 months ago, but you filed for divorce 2 months after you get the document. What happened? How? Explain to me what happened. So now you have to explain what was the situation, why you filed for divorce, and if you have were in an abusive relationship at the time, you have to get supporting statements from other people to say this is what happened and this is why the person's doing divorce.
So now there's always a way to figure it out. This is why it's so important that you get professional help. Here at
Yes.
Noise and Associates, we are committed to helping families, keeping them united, and always utilizing the law to help you achieve your American dream. Again, if you, your loved one, anyone you know needs immigration help, we'll be more than happy to help. We're here to bring you discussions of things that we're seeing, of topics, of news, and please do not get played by someone just seeking papers. It's very hurtful when you're in love and somebody's using you. Or it's very hurtful when you love someone and then they're demanding money to be able to help you with your process. And even worse yet, to pay someone to marry you to help you do your papers who doesn't know anything about you, who's going to ruin your possibilities of one day legalizing. So they are going to be expanding their fraud unit and their investigations. They will be looking at cases and they will be revoking citizenship. So if
Yeah.
you have been committing fraud, I suggest that you get ready, that you prepare, that you seek legal help, and you start preparing for what could happen under this new administration.
And I definitely feel like they're going to go back to doing the interviews for all cases. They're not going to do the waive. I feel like they're going to remove that waive in the interview if you provide enough bona fides. I feel like they're going to go back to doing in-person interview for all marriage cases because with the uprise and the new administration, they're going to, and I also feel like they're going to put back the public charge. All the era for Trump era, 2016 era Trump immigration, I feel like it's going to come back with a lot more behind it. So you kind of want to make sure you are prepared for it, number one. And also, again, seek out a legal advice. Don't just go with your neighborhood friends.
Absolutely. So again, this is Juan and Shernat. We're from Noise and Associates. We are from of immigrants for immigrants. We'll be more than happy to discuss any topics that are of interest to you, and we'll see you next time.
Yes. Have a good night.